Welcome back. We continue that discussion, and there is an outcry of our citizens losing their property through what we have referred as access to credit. You go to borrow when you are also believing that you're going to do business. But the situation is not all that favorable. And on the other hand, we are mindful that those who are also doing business as commercial banks, they shouldn't lose their money because they are also either they have to pay back from somewhere where they got the money. In amidst this is not only in Kampala, it's all over the country. It is realized that most of our citizens, they have advocated to go for money lending, and that is now borrowing, those who are borrowing from money lenders, and it seems to have taken shape. Most of our people who are engaging in business, the subject matter of money lending is quite now taking shape. Would like to hear from you in that situation, whether that situation is manageable and where you could opt, you as a peer of other business people, which advice can you give so that the people that we are able to access credit, they can know whenever they want to access credit, where should they go? They need to hear either the bad story, the success story, and maybe the challenging story. Either way, whether they should go to commercial banks, whether they should go to money lenders in amidst this financial and economic crisis that we are going through.
Well, street money lenders have taken advantage of the financial crisis that borrowers usually go in. The truth is that by the time somebody runs to a street money lender, at some point he has also a biting loan. That is so funny. I've realized that. Because we find somebody in his docket, he has...
You call it a biting loan.
Exactly. Yes, in his docket, he has property. And like, you're like, why is this guy running to the street money lender? When actually he has property that he can stake for a proper loaning policy to run to a commercial bank, and then is given money, and then is given enough ample time to pay. Because a street money lender may not give you beyond 30 days. That's so funny. And is attaching, and you are staking in a property worth 100 million or a 50 million plot. You see? But you get to realize behind this borrower from a street money lender is also having a loan somewhere.
So he is having a financial crisis.
Exactly.
And is solving it with another crisis.
So what it does...
So it becomes double crisis.
Exactly. When he's under pressure, he runs to a street money lender. The street money lender pays him. Maybe they even go to the bank. They clear the other loan. And he's also hopeful that within a small given time, he's likely probably to have gotten money to feed the street money.
We are going together. I want us to be practical.
Exactly.
The experience you have, what causes the first loan's failure, unable to progress? What are the many causes, as far as you know, in a business environment you are in, and the other, what the experience you've attained?
Well, what may fail the first loan is probably not things going as anticipated. Because in the first place, if you're going for a loan, you probably have the anticipation of a certain business to progress and pay the loan. Now, as we go along, the business does not materialize to the expectation.
You give us the practical experience examples.
Yes, for example, somebody comes in for a loan and then is heading for an import from China.
Importation.
Exactly. And then
which cargo?
Exactly.
You go into specifics.
Let me take certain example. You're going abroad. You're bringing Chinese shoes. You understand? You load yourself from here, then you go to China. You are very hopeful that if you bring a container of shoes, as you land in here, they are glands. Surprisingly, as you bring in these shoes, one, you meet the competition of the Chinese themselves. They're within the business.
Here in Kampala.
Yes. They're on Loom Street, they're on William Street, they're everywhere. Chinese are also selling shoes. Now, surprisingly, the Chinese are very easy to give credit. That's one. Two, these Chinese that are selling the same shoes are related to the manufacturers. Is either the son here selling shoes, bringing 20 containers, 30 containers a month. Now you not compete with the real producer. He has taken the supply chain. Is the manufacturer, is the wholesaler, is the one retailing. Now at the end of the day, you bring in here, you find that the Chinese, the type of shoes you brought, the Chinese has modified it a little bit. And you know what happens? They'll tell you, this is already
they have improved it.
Exactly. For you now, they'll say, Enengato is outdated. You lose the stock completely. You see, with the Chinese, they reverse the things every hour. Every hour.
They reverse.
They reverse. You see, a shoe, for example, these ladies' shoes, they move so fast, but they are also reversed within hours. Because like once a shoe comes, this is a Clarks, the same Chinese will probably go in the first-hand shoes, first class shoes. He takes a pic, he sends it to his father in the factory.
Back to China.
Then they duplicate that shoe. Now that means you not compete. There you lose. At the end of the day, you get to realize maybe
and you have already taken on. I want to go to Sako from the business, that the nature of the business,
exactly.
Then to access to a loan,
exactly.
And then to recover,
exactly.
And then to manage, or to mismanage.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, your hope were in these shoes. You bring in there here, the Chinese has outcompeted you, whereby now the government should really look at who is an investor. To what level this investor should be. Where should he be placed? Should we really come downtown and then the Chinese brings 50 containers of shoes and then it's also retailing on William Street? That means the citizen is outcompeted.
Is outcompeted.
Exactly.
So they are going to throw all of you out.
That's very true. That means they have taken the center stage of the business community. And I understand that. That's why now, as in Ugandans, they will find themselves out first. Now, managing such a loan becomes a problem. Another problem comes in with the URL values. You understand that? Probably. So
competition is one of the challenges?
Exactly. Now you get to the values. They will tell you probably these values are of this nature. And I remember, you thought maybe it was $3 per pair. Now you find that, it is 6. You understand that? So you get shocked. You're like, at some point, values become a problem. I want to assure you, we may bring these two bottles. You understand that? They look alike. Then at the end of the day, the valuer, the one giving tax assessment, may give you a different value, by the way. And he will prove to you beyond reasonable doubt, telling you that this is of a different value and it's of a higher value. And you find that you are paying $3 for this and this one is paying $2. Now that becomes also a challenge. You are running out of time.
You are a Uganda Revenue Authority. The taxation.
Now there comes also somebody from UNBS. Probably, is it of standard? You understand that? Now,
for quality assurance.
For quality assurance. And then they really tell you, you see, to prove also becomes a problem. You understand that? Now, the policy itself there is becoming a problem. There are no standard policies. The UNBS guy will come and tell you, no, the things are of no standard as to our standards are.
Do they say it again? At times it's not.
They do what?
I mean, by the time to assess, do they assess genuinely? Do they give the right picture representing the state of the product?
You see, the problem is that, I'm very sorry to say, sometimes Chinese are cheats. Yes. At some point, that's why it was very hard for people to order online. You order something online to a Chinese in a factory, and it gives you something very opposite. But as in the social media platform, as he's sending it online, you really see it's of the value. As it reaches here, then it doesn't pass the test. So such scenarios do really happen. As you really come in here, then you find that, like during COVID-19, as you brought the stock, and then somebody wants the rent areas, and now you are locked out. Yeah? Well,
let's go back. You went to business when you knew that you are going to find their competition.
That's very true.
You know, you are speaking on your behalf and on behalf of the business
That's
people.
very true.
And for us, we want to face realities because we have a challenge that in Uganda, most of the businesses are falling. We have many businesses which are mushrooming, and also the rate of decline is high. So by the time you go to business, it's like the way when I went to school, I knew that either I could get a job or I don't get a job.
That's true.
But at least I was able to measure if I partake a path of what I'm going to pursue in education, this is where I will be, and possibly even if all fails, but I will survive. Now equally I come to you, sir. In the event when you went into business, because we are looking at credit finance management, and why is it that we are having many of your fellow businessmen and women who are struggling in amidst this economic crisis, unable to pay back. Some ending up either going to banks, others they're ending up going to money lenders. And finally they fail. That's our discussion in this second segment. So competition, it is true. You would find their competition.
That's true.
So you not say, you see, I found there manufacturers who outcompeted me. You knew it, and you must have calculated it, have a business plan. Number two, you knew that you're going to find their ULA because you cannot do business which is not taxed, and even the trading license by the KCCA.
That's very true.
You also knew that if you went into business, the standard and the quality assurance is a must. All that you must align it. And the rent, you knew that you're going to pay.
That's very true.
So do you think that your fellow colleagues, those who have faced these scenarios, have had good informal session, business session, before they undertake some serious loans, so that their mortgages, so that their collateral mortgages are not taken away? Because somewhere, they say there is no defense to ignorance. I'm not saying everyone is ignorant, but also there's a need for information. Because the information you are giving me right now as I'm here, I'm learning. I cannot now go into this before I learn and say, these are the opportunities, these are the challenges. Could you give us more?
Well, first, you see, before COVID, things were not running as so bad as current. I think you understand that. Different factors that are within our business dealings changed, and they abnormally changed. That's very true. Because like I'm looking at somebody that is in business, and then he went for a lockdown of close to a year.
Yeah, it was a testing moment.
Exactly. And therefore, this person is coming back to a business premise where they are telling him, you've been paying $3,000, $2,000, $1,000. Others even were paying $10,000. And they are saying now, you pay for the rest of the 12 months, the arrears. I understand that? And with business, obviously, we calculate as we go. As with time, you know that maybe within this month I'll make these sales and I'll slice off the rent, the cost, and I'll remain with this. If probably I'm managing a loan, I'll also manage it in such a way. Now those abnormal situations came in. You understanding that?
Yes.
Now, therefore, you also expect probably the government to have fair policies. As in probably managing the credit, facilities and all that. As you are there, the interest rate goes up. Now, that's not your own making. I understand that. Okay. So, as you are there, a Chinese in China, they stop people going there.
They stop people going there.
Exactly, because of COVID issues. And you're ordering on what? Online. So therefore, you are not there to physically touch. I understand that. So as you are not there to physically touch, something is going. You are going to order it online.
And you've already paid.
A fellow Chinese, he will order to his father, to his relative.
And will bring the original.
And will bring something that will substantial, that will pass the test. And you, as a Ugandan, you are either left to buy from a Chinese, but probably you say, no, I've been getting probably half a container or a container from China. Let me probably try this Chinese that I've been dealing with. And then, I want this kind of shoe. It's by picture. Send it. It's like, okay, I'm putting it. Then he sends it. He sends something that may fail to pass the quality, as by the test of UNPS. You understand? Now it becomes also hard. But remember, as a businessman, you find that you're also having other dealings externally. Certain clients are coming from Sudan, they are coming from Congo, they are coming from Rwanda. Now, there is no movement. Understand that? That Rwanda is closed as a border. That means if certain Rwandans have been coming in Chikubo, Nabugabo, buying, cartons of shirts, you not sell them. I understand that. And now that means if people are coming from Congo, it is also very hard. Now that means the government must come in and see that SOPs, standard operating procedures of COVID, were not fair to the economic environment. What should we do? Interest rate a little bit, go down. Understand that? Taxes a little bit, go down. Let us go in survival mode and then probably graduate rationally. But now, as if we are in competition with government, the governments want to survive and we also need to survive. Now that means the government will look at whereby, like they were, as I want to quote the president, that experts have told him he should not
reduce on the cost of fuel.
Oh, no, on the cost of tax, on the tax.
And also fuel, yes.
And also on fuel. You understand this? But people must survive. If the whole government woke up and started spoon-feeding people, giving people kaunga, posho, beans in Kampala. Now, how dare you say, after such starvation, this person that has been starving, you are saying you are not going to reduce the taxes? I think it was not reasonable.
You are giving us a good proposal, I think, which is a good one. Instead of going into the feeding, what we call handouts, you are suggesting, in your advocacy,
exactly,
as someone representing the traders, the government should have dealt with issues of policy.
Exactly.
They deal with the issues of the taxes, they reduce the taxes for you. In a medicine like we're having now, this current challenge of fuel, if the fuel is down, which is causing you not to have favorable business, operation environment, they reduce.
Exactly.
And they stop giving you the handout, the 100,000, because that is short-lived.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for that insight. I believe it is important because handouts, dear policy makers, the government handouts are short-lived. They cannot sustain economy. Yet, policies, the economic policies, which are supportive to those who are doing business, like how we have this gentleman here, can sustain someone in the business environment. It is a good point I would like to appreciate, sir. Thank you so much. But we were still looking at the comparison of where should we go. Money lending business is taking stage day by day, and it's competing with also the normal commercial banks. Yet all the two sectors, the two entities, the two stakeholders, they are all crying that the recovery is becoming a challenge. I have a certain sister of mine is doing money lending, an informal one. It's an informal one, which is someone who can say, one who comes and say, once some money and gives out. But to recover, almost find that cannot recover money back. The banks are also not recovering. What is you had already talked about one factor of the character, because here there is a principle that I was able to come across, the 5C theory that helps commercial banks if they are to increase credit performance portfolio. One is character, another one is capacity, collateral, capital, and condition. And condition, those are the 5 C's. Building on that, how can we harmonize the state of doing business, either whether we go for money lending, either whether we go for commercial banks?
Well, the money lenders we are seeing right now, they also been given some room of formalizing. That's very true. I'd look at the small circle. Circles are formal because they are fully registered. That is one. And there are also other credit facilitators, you understand, that are getting formalized, registered. That is it. For example, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority is a little bit dealing also with the small financiers.
So, Mr. Ball, we are going to go for the commercial break, and you will build on that very point. Thank you so much.